So there are two major challenges as a parent when you are raising your teenager child. The time you spend with your wife, wallahi, that is the time also you are spending with your child. Only help him if he comes to you and asking for help. When we are raising our kids, I said, part of it in my previous point, don't label your child. When you are getting married, it's a big responsibility you are taking on your shoulder. You are not bachelor anymore. Inshallah, I will start the program with dua. Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan tayyaba wa amalan mutaqabbala. The biggest nema of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ilm nafi. And once you have that ilm nafi, you are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See how all these three parts of this dua are interconnected. Then you are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after you give me ilm nafi, then give me rizq tayyab. Now rizq, as I have explained, is everything we need to face the challenges of our life. So after asking for ilm nafi, you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me all the tools and means that I can execute this ilm nafi. And then in the end we are asking for amal mutaqabbala. The final product should be my amal, my action, which is acceptable to you. I want to talk the very definition of tarbiyah. Tarbiyah actually is working on deep internal layer of personality, focusing on core values, change from inside. Change from inside, that is tarbiyah. That you develop reflexes. So if situation comes in front of you, you will respond according to the required challenge, what tarbiyah you have received. I'm going to talk about teenagers first, inshallah. Teenagers, when we say it's like 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old, our kids. You might have noticed one thing. When our child was young, we had more time for our child. And we know more about them. And we had better communication. But as our child grows, gets a little older, we as a parent have less and less time for our child. And less communication. And we know only so much about our child. And that is the time that we should know about our child the most. But that is the time we know about our child the least. So there are two major challenges as a parent when you are raising your teenager child. The number one challenge is communication. Teenagers may become more secretive or less willing to share their thoughts and feelings. Very common situation that we see every day in our homes. When you ask them, did you eat? He will either say yes or no. He will not give you any more explanation. How was your day in school? Good. How is life going? Good. One word answer. Very typical, for our teenagers. So now I'm going to give you few tips. And my teenager, they are also here, they are listening, that how we can make this communication better between parent and our teenager kids. The very first tip I have is create a safe and non-judgmental environment where your teenager feels comfortable expressing themselves. Create environment which is non-judgmental. Create environment in which your child feels that it's okay for me to share the information I want to share. Second, initiate conversation by asking open-ended questions and actively listening to their responses. Open-ended question. Teenagers, they don't like close-ended question. You don't want to just ask them directly issues related to them. Rather, you want to have open-ended questions. For example, if you see that your child misbehaves with parents, then instead of putting him on spot and asking him that why do you misbehave with parents, rather ask a question in a way that what is your thought? In home, if parents and teenager kids, they don't have good relationship, and the teenager, he disrespects his parents, what's your thought? And how we can fix that? So if you ask indirect question, he might be willing to share with you his thoughts. Number 3 tip I have, respect their privacy, but let them know you are always available to talk if they need support or advice. Teenagers, they love their privacy. And my second point is about their independency, that I'll talk in a second. But they love their privacy, but you should, there is a difference between giving space and privacy. So when you provide space or privacy to your child, make sure you let them understand that you are always available to help them. You're not going to give them free hand. You're not just going to let them do whatever they want to do. That doesn't mean when you say space or you want to give them privacy. Fourth point I have, set aside dedicated time for family discussions or activities to foster communication. This is the key point. I think I have said this before as well. Set aside time where you can sit down with your family and talk or have some activity together. Most of the time I have seen teenagers, they open up during informal discussion. When you go on trip, when you go and play sports with them, when you go and just you are there to listen, active listening. So what I said, 4 points. Create safe and non-judgmental environment. Number 2, respect their privacy. Number 3, initiate conversation by asking open-ended questions. And number 4, set aside dedicated time of family discussions or some family activities. The second challenge we have with teenagers love to have independence and boundaries. This is what I want to talk. Teenagers strive for independence, but it's crucial for parents to set appropriate boundaries. Balancing freedom and responsibility can be tricky. Consider following points. There I have 3-4 points. Number 1, whenever you want to give independency to your child, at the same time set some boundaries for them, that they will have independency, but to what extent? Number 1, involve your teenager in decision-making process to give them sense of autonomy. So whenever you want to make some family decision, especially decisions about their life, most of the time I have seen parents, they make decision about their child and child does not even know what the plan is. Kids don't like that. And we live in a different time and age. Involve them in decision-making process so they feel part of their decision, so they can own that decision. Second is, clearly communicate your expectations and rules while allowing them to have their input. Tell your expectations. Communicate to them that what you are expecting from them. Most of the time we feel like they know. They already know because they know. But you have your own expectations, you have your own mind, you have your own picture, what you are expecting from them. So it's better to clearly communicate to your teenager child that what you are expecting, from him or her. Encourage responsible behavior by setting limits and consequences for any breaches. Encourage responsible behavior and setting limits and consequences. They should know consequences. If they will breach what expectations you have, or what rules you have, or what limits you have set, so there will be consequences that they have to face, and they should know about it, and you should execute that. Don't just let it go, okay, I will see second time, third time. Then your child is going to do more wrong things if you will not check him at first step. The next is gradually give them more independence as they demonstrate maturity and responsibility. Here I want to say another point which related to both teenagers and young children. Do not pamper your child. You might have heard this term, mama ka bacha, mama's child. You might have heard this term, mama's child. Mama's child is that mama pampers him or her so much that their child gets so spoiled that he has never heard no in his life. And when he goes in practical life, in high school, and his friends, they confront him and they challenge whatever or way he wants to go, he gets shattered. Because in all his life, he has just heard, yes, no problem, I am here for you, you don't have to do this. Why is mama? Mama is to help you, mama is to take care of your laundry, mama is there to take care of your dirty plates. Mama is here for every problem of your life. But when this child goes independent in his life, I have seen these kids, they fail big time. And this is the teaching of Quran. When Quran talks about orphan kids, that give them responsibility and increase their responsibility as you see their maturity. For little kids, always try to let them take self-initiative. Please pay attention to this point. Many times we try to take very proactive role in growth of our child. We want to make sure we guide them for every little thing. You should be present in your child's life like invisible. You are observing your child, you are watching him, let him take the initiative, only help him if he comes to you and asking for help. And that observation should be unbiased, non-judgmental. Many times when we are watching our kids, we pass our judgment. You are always lazy. I know you cannot do this. I know you're going to fail. I know you're going to break this. I know this, that you are not competent enough to do this. This is a very bad approach. You basically are killing the hidden potential of your child when you are passing judgment about your child. So be there, observe them like you are not there. Stay silent. Silent is not just from tongue, from inside as well. So don't make, any biased judgment about your child. Rather, let him take care of things. And I'll give you one example. And I had one video on my YouTube channel. I shared this video. When you let your child take initiative, wallahi, you will see wonders. that how much your child can do and how he will surprise you. And how he can really bring the hidden potential that your child has. You know, my daughter's kids, they came at our home in Houston, and we had a little home for them. Inside house, little home. And they were playing in that house, and I noticed that after a day, they got bored. And I may have said in my last program, when we provide toys to our kids, we actually give them finished product. That finished product, they get bored in day or two because there is nothing left for them to explore. And child by birth, he is very creative and he has curiosity. These are the main potential of a child, creativity and curiosity. If you give them unfinished product, for example, I saw in my family, I went to Atlanta, they had one delivery at their home, my daughter's home, and they got a little box. Same situation. In Houston, they got finished house. They got bored in day or two because there was nothing for them to explore. But here in Atlanta, I witnessed they had little box came. A delivery came and the box was empty. They asked the parents, why don't you give us this box? Now here comes their potential. They took the box, they put, because they have little brother, so they don't want little brother to bother them. They want to make their own, tree house. So they put some stools first. And these kids are doing it. 4-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-year-old. They are doing it. They brought stools, so this box can go on top of that stool. So the little brother will not bother them. And now they brought one more chair to make steps, ladder, to jump in the box. And now they are drawing different pictures in that box. They can bring the little brother, time to time to play with him. So I was noticing they were enjoying that unfinished product better than you spend $100, $200 to bring that finished product. They got bored. Here, unfinished product has value of $5, but they were able to enjoy it better. So I will suggest giving your child puzzles, giving them pen and copy, taking them out and explore the world is a better option than buying finished product in the form of toys for them. Now, another thing which I will suggest here, my brothers and my sisters, when we are raising our kids, I said, part of it in my previous point, don't label your child. Don't label your child. Wallahi, many times I see, in my clinic as well, both, Desi families and American families, that how really they are damaging the personality, the whole approach, attitude brought up of a child by labeling them. Tum to mote ho, you are fat because you eat more, you do nothing in life. I have seen parents labeling their child that tum to bilkul koi kaam ke nahi ho. No, we should not expect anything good from you. Parents labeling the child, that is the biggest mistake we make, in our life. And here I want to highlight very important point. If you really want to rectify any shortcomings of your child, don't use them as an example. Don't use them as an example. That you do this. Rather, make yourself as an example. Beta, what if I have done this? Or make third party as an example. To bring in front of him. That what if somebody has done this? But never make your child example if you want him to improve. Don't put him on spot. That's the mistake, we all do. Another thing, I want to say that whatever image you have about your child, expectations you have about your child, wherever you want to see them 20 years from now, whatever picture you have in your mind, start treating them according to that picture and expectation and image from the very early age. If you are expecting that my child will be a physician, my child will be a successful businessman, my child will be a successful human being, my child will be a best community member, wallahi, start treating them, respecting them from the very early age according to your expectation. And whatever expectations you have, if you will treat your child accordingly, you will see that that child will strive his best to fulfill your expectations. You are not putting that expectation, unnatural way on his shoulder. Rather, you are just giving him some tips that's what you feel like that you should be doing. You are treating him and then he will, inshallah, perform. And here, let me point out one very important point before I move forward to the next. Always be realistic when you are setting any expectations from your child. Have a realistic expectation. I am seeing in our teenagers depression. They come, in my clinic and I see a blank face, no expressions. No expression. Like a depressed child. What's wrong with you, brother? You are 16-year-old. In your age, we had no worries in life. We were playing outside. We were fighting each other to eat. We had no worries about life. What's wrong with you? You are 16-year-old. Have a smile on your face. The reason is most of the parents, they get very unrealistic when it comes to expectations from your child. Know his potential and know what he can do and set your expectations accordingly. Don't expect from him that he is going to be somebody and you put him under pressure, and then when he is not performing and you are going after him and you are screaming and yelling at him, wallahi, that creates unnecessary anxiety and depression in our child. Whatever expectation you have from your child, always give him some space. Always give him some room. Always give him support and reassurance. The better we are here to support you. Even if you fail, no worries. We still love you. You will need our help, we will help you. No worries. So unnecessary anxiety and pressure on a child is putting them in depression and anxiety and many different diseases. Another thing which I will share here with you, my brothers and my sisters, teach your child what he is not getting taught in school. One of the points I may have highlighted before here, your child comes from school, he was reading math, science, history in school. When he comes home, now here parents come. And they want at home also study math, study science, study history. Wallahi, I have seen because of that your child may become very good in academics. He may be superstar A+ student. But as a human being, as a teenager, as a child, when he comes in practical life, he fails big time. Time is coming very soon. You might have heard me saying this. These degrees will have very little value. This piece of paper we call shahada, we call degree, this will have very little value. What value will be that how good of a person you are, how you can do conflict resolution, how you can present yourself, how you can live in a community, how you can bring people together, your speaking power. Those skills that if you have issue in your home, how you diffuse, how you resolve, your own personal and family issues. And here I will point out here, and I have said in one of my videos about, kids who are getting married. We focus as a parent just on their education. Wallahi, just on their education. I have seen girls, they are very well educated. They have become doctor and engineer and everybody, but they don't know how to cook food. They don't know how to take care of the basic needs of their home. They don't know how to take care of husband, how to take care of the mother-in-law, how to take care of the extended family after marriage. They are very good in education, but zero in practical life. Who is going to teach them all that? And same thing for the boys. That you make them very good student, but you don't teach them that how you're going to respect your wife, how you have to treat your wife. If there is any issue happens among two of you, how you are going to resolve that? How you have to respect your in-laws? How do you take care of your kids? When you are getting married, it's a big responsibility you are taking on your shoulder. You are not bachelor anymore. You have to take care of the family and share everything of your life with your future partner. These things, wallahi, we have to teach our kids from the very beginning. Girls and boys, both, that we have to invest. We have to invest in their life about conflict resolution, making them good speaker, extempore. They can express themselves in the best possible way. They can be among community members, so they know how to handle things, how to handle issues. So that is another point which I want to share here with you. In this, one thing which I will say here, no matter what I say here, let me give you a key point. No matter what I say here, the bottom line message is, until and unless we will have good environment in our home, nothing will work. No matter how many points I give you. And that's why you may have heard that hadith of Prophet ﷺ. Million times we have heard that hadith, in which Prophet ﷺ is saying, the best among you is the one who is best in his family. Why Prophet didn't say that best among you is the one who fasts the most, or who prays in the first row in the masjid, or who does most hajj and umrah? Why he didn't say that? He said very specifically, the best among you is the one who is best behind the door. Who is best behind the door? Because behind the door nobody knows, but people who are dependent on you, people who you deal with every day. Many times I have seen husband comes home, had bad day at work, and he exploded at home. Now all the manners and etiquettes and politeness and gentleness and a smile of the face, that was for people outside. People in home, they don't deserve that. Now he explodes at home because he had bad day. Let me ask you a question. If you had bad day in your home, for example, you had worst day at home with your wife, you go to work, will you explode in front of your boss? Will you take out your anger on your boss? Will you do that? No. Because you know the consequences. That's why, I say the bottom line is ittaqullah. Have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahi, what I see in families, like there is no God. There is no day of judgment. There is no accountability. I am the king. I can do whatever I want to do. I am the king. I can treat my wife like a trash. I can treat my kids like a trash. I can curse them. I can say whatever I want to say. I can take out my anger no matter how I want to take, because I am the king. I am Qawwam. I am providing them, the food on their table. I am providing them the shelter. So I am free. Nobody is checking me. Inna Allah kana alaykum raqiba. Inna Allah kana alaykum raqiba. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching on our shoulder. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make us accountable one day of every little thing we do inside house or outside house. Wallahi, that until and unless you will, husband and wife both, will make the environment of the home friendly, loving, caring, softness, gentleness, dealing with each other with care and love. That is the house which will be able to produce kids that they will be able, inshallah, to perform according to their best, potential. My brothers and my sisters, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us tawfiq, that we can raise our kids in a best possible way. And I can tell you that if I am sincere inside of me, if I am sincere and I want to make my family the ideal family in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not in front of just community, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will hold my hand. Allah will guide me. Allah will provide me tools and means that I can raise my family in the best possible way, inshallah. If anybody has any question, inshallah. Teaching them what? Asif bhai, there are, things that you really have to start teaching them. It depends what exactly you want to teach them, but it's from the very beginning. Right after child is born, child has emotions, child has feelings, child understands, the language, the sign, emotions of mom and father. From very early age, you want to set the right foundation, the right parameter from the very beginning. How you feed your child, how you take care of your child, how you change their, pampers. Wallahi, everything has effect. This is what we call positive, bank account deposit, positive bank account deposit, which is from very early age. Yes. Any other question? Emotions mean, anger, or emotions means?
Yeah, you can
anger, yeah. What I have understood, as a baby doctor, that if you really go harsh on your child, that doesn't work. So I know, as a parent, what we have seen our parents, the way we were raised. So if you do little mistake, then or little anger comes from there. But in this time and age, the best thing is that you have to hold on to your guns. You have to do your best, because actually when you are staying calm and soft, you are teaching your child a lesson that this is how you handle the crisis. And I see every day parents who get mad and angry on child, then there is a reaction in the child as well. He reciprocates the same anger. Please, I know it's very difficult, but I'm not saying you should not discipline them. You should discipline them. You should make rules for them. You cannot give them free hand. They should face the consequences from early age if they cross the boundary, if they don't follow the discipline. But you can do that without raising your voice. And I can tell you, I may have said in the last, discussion, time will come that you will control your child with your eyes. You will be able to control your child with your eyes. If you have invested in your child, your eyes will be good enough to make him understand my mom and dad are angry or they are happy. Even if you can give 1 hour a day, that's a quality time. Some parents, they tell me, I come home, my child is already sleeping. And I work my hours are such that I cannot give time to my child. Let me tell you, the time you spend with your wife, wallahi, that is the time also you are spending with your child. Because if you have happy wife, if you have wife with good feelings and emotions, she is going to take good care of your child. So when you are investing time in your wife, that is also part you are investing time in your family. So whatever time, if weekend comes and you can only give weekend time, give couple of hours, sit down, have informal discussion, go out for play or do some activity with your child. Whatever time you can, even half an hour you give, that is going to help, inshallah.